Hey guys, Ranger, and welcome back to another reaction review, and this is to the, what is it? The 20th episode of MLP, A Horse Shoe-In. And I know this focuses on Starlight Glimmer, which, one of my favorite characters, actually, because she was, like, in the first couple of seconds in the beginning of this, so, the first few seconds, so, let's dive in and see what this episode is, because I'm very, very curious about it. Start video in 3, 2, 1, flip.
I think you really spruce up the office, Miss Philodendron. Oh, I'm gonna call you Phyllis. Do you look good, Phyllis?
That's adorable.
Come in. Come in.
Were you just talking to someone?
No. Why?
Starlight, I have something very important to discuss with you.
If this is about leaving early yesterday, I didn't have any students on my schedule, and Trixie was having a magical emergency, which actually turned out to be nothing.
It's not anything like that.
Okay.
Twilight Sparkle, the Princess of Friendship, in light of her impending ascension to the throne of Equestria, and in anticipation of her many duties and responsibilities forthwith, does hereby intend to make good on her previous offer to you, Starlight Glimmer, of replacing her as head mayor of the school.
What?
I want you to take over the school when I move to Canterlot.
What? Move?
Just so amazing. I'm a little... Do you think I'm really up for it? Of course you do. I've covered for you every time you've had to run off and save Equestria, but, I mean, yes, of course. Thank you!
You're welcome. And I can't think of any pony who'd be better for the job.
I'm a little nervous and excited. I'm mostly just nervous.
I understand. Of course, I'll have a lot of important responsibilities as ruler of Equestria, but I'll always be available to help whenever you need.
Are you supposed to be at a royal etiquette lesson with Celestia and Luna right now?
Right. Can't underestimate the important responsibility of royal napkin placement.
Wow. I mean, no biggie, right, Phyllis? I've totally got this.
You just killed Phyllis. Okay, already there's a couple of things. This is very adorable for Starlight. I do think it's adorable that she had a complete freak out and was extremely grateful to Twilight, that Twilight was letting her take over. But I don't like the concept of Twilight moving to Canterlot. I don't see why she has to move to Canterlot to rule over Equestria. I mean, she's already got a castle in Ponyville. Why move to Canterlot? Why have to do that?
You know I'm nothing but proud that you've been officially offered the position of head mayor.
Thanks.
But I can't help wondering if it's going to cut into our social schedule.
What do you mean?
Take now, for example. Instead of heading to the delightful lunch I had planned, we're striding with determination toward what I can only assume is Twilight's office.
Obviously, our lunch is super important, but so is taking over the school. And the only pony who's really run the School of Friendship is the Princess of Friendship. And I'm worried about doing it all alone, so I want to get as much advice from Twilight as I can while she's still here.
But Twilight's never really done anything alone. She always has her friends.
But that just gave me an idea.
True,
Thanks,
yes.
Trixie. You can give good advice when you don't mean to.
Thanks? Are we still doing lunch?
Well, you can always do origami.
Just right is a lot harder than it looks.
Okay. I know how busy you are, but I wanted to talk to you about running the school because, honestly, I was a bit worried about taking it over all on my own. But I just realized you never did it alone.
Having a friend help out is pretty great.
Exactly. So,
Origami.
what do you think about me hiring a vice head mayor to help run things?
I trust you to run the school any way you want. And if that means hiring a vice head mayor, I think it's a great idea.
Really?
Like you said, I've always had ponies around to help. And don't worry, you can always call on me to...
Twilight, Rarity says you were supposed to be at the boutique 5 minutes ago for your second fitting for the coronation gown.
Ugh, how many fittings are there gonna be?
A lot?
Anyway, good luck finding your vice head mare. I know you'll pick the right pony for the job.
Wow. I heard the whole thing,
Trixie.
and all I can say is, I am humbled.
Why?
I hadn't
was
ever
adorable.
considered it, but hearing you say it out loud made me realize what a great and powerful
no.
vice head mayor I'll be.
Uh-oh.
Plus, we get
I
to
don't-
work and socialize at the same time.
Well,
Well, sure, that would be fun, but I can't just give you the job.
Oh, no, of course not. I imagine there's a lengthy process to go through before you inevitably hire the best pony for the position. Wink.
Exactly. I'll probably interview several ponies.
Of course, several. Wink.
Why do you keep saying wink?
I'm not saying wink. Wink.
oh boy.
I'm glad you all
Octavia?
decided to be part of the search for the School of Friendship's vice head mayor.
And
Honestly, if you're looking for some pony to fundraise, I can bring in enough bits to have several buildings named after me.
Well, that's not the primary responsibility of the vice head mayor, but any pony
Okay.
is welcome to apply. I think the selection process I've come up with is pretty special.
Albeit unnecessary.
Ahem.
oh boy.
Since you all
First off,
have
why is
to
she
know
here?
what it takes to be vice head
Why
mayor,
is
I've
spoiled
designed
milk
the
here?
interview in 3 stages. Each stage will test a different skill the vice head mayor needs. Only those who do well will move through the stages until finally the best candidate rises to the top. So,
Okay.
without further ado, it's time for stage 1, substituting for the teachers.
Well. Once the students get a sample of my great and powerful instruction,
Oh boy.
they might not want to go back to the regular faculty.
Wow, that seam is so straight. You really learned how to sew from mending apple sacks on the farm?
Yep.
Okay.
Obviously, loyalty is the foundation of friendship and trust. But nothing gets more loyalty than a big stack of bits.
Oh my
This book on business
gosh.
will teach you all how to earn your own. Chapter 1, Equity.
Yeah. Oh, perfect for music class. Octavia's definitely perfect for music class. Ah! You can tell she's been hanging around Vinyl a lot because she's really loosened up. And Dr. Hooves is perfect for chemistry or for science class. Perfect.
In the pre-Equestria era, year 1322, Abraxius the Bold did a bunch of boring stuff for a really long time. Okay, I know history's important, but I never learned any of it, and look how I turned out.
Okay, I see that Trixie kind of wants a position. She thinks she's really going to get it, but she's not actually putting forth the effort to earn the position.
Okay, Phyllis, obviously those 3 are moving on, but what about the rest? I think we're in agreement on this one.
Carrot. Yep.
I know what you're gonna say, but it would be so much fun to have my vice head mayor be a friend. She just needs a little more hoof-holding than some of the others, but it could still work out, right?
Starlight, I've given this a lot of thought, and even though I still believe naps are a valid use of class time, you'll be the one running the school. So if you say no naps, then no naps. And I know I can be a little stubborn and not the best listener, but I just can't wait for us to tackle this job as a team. 2 great and powerful friends taking on the world. And I know you still have to go through all this interview stuff. Wink. But I just had to tell you how excited I am.
Oh, crap.
See? I told you it could work.
Isn't there another position that you could give her?
All right, remaining vice head mayor candidates, welcome to stage 2. All of you are here because you performed well, or well enough, to face your next challenge, parent-teacher conferences. The vice head mayor will need to be a master communicator, and I can't think of a better test of that than meeting with our students and their parents or guardians.
I eagerly look forward to sharing my love of science with both progeny and progenitors.
Indeed. An orchestra is made up of different parts, and good communication is the key to harmony.
Yup.
Octavia
On
spoke
stage
again.
has taught me that good communication is essential to holding your audience's
And Dr.
attention,
Hooves.
which is why Trixie is also known as a great and powerful communicator.
Uh-huh.
Life at the School of Friendship is like a song, and although she started out singing her part pianissimo, Ocellus is now soloing fortissimo.
That's good, right?
Indeed.
The science curriculum at the school is somewhat lacking, but Yona has taken to the subject like a yak to smashing. If fostered, I believe she could easily blaze a trail and expand our understanding of science itself. Next best! Next best! Next best!
Okay.
Gallus is a fantastic student. He's even taught me a thing or two about napping.
Is that why you're putting me to sleep?
Excuse me?
I don't know why I have to come to these things.
Well, most parents or guardians want to be involved in our students' lives. Maybe we should find a different representative from Griffinstone to be Gallus's guardian.
Oh, that'd be great. If you find one, let me know!
I'm so confused. You're saying Silverstream is exuberant?
Yup.
And enthusiastic?
Yup.
But aren't those the same? And are they good? I mean, you could be trying to tell me she's unfocused, but then you might just be explaining that you appreciate her high energy.
Nope. Yup. Maybe.
There seems to be a lot of nuance here, and I just want to make sure I understand exactly what you're saying. So what are you saying?
Gallus doesn't need to know I'm proud of him, and he certainly doesn't need me trekking all the way to Ponyville.
Good, because you're no longer welcome.
Well, fine with me.
Ay.
Trixie, what happened?
I'm not sure, but we'll have one less conference to worry about next semester.
I think I just did
I
that.
really appreciate your honesty, Big Mac, and you're right. Parents expect a lot of detailed communication when it comes to their kids. And if you aren't comfortable with that, Vice Head Mayor probably isn't the job for you.
Yeah, nope.
You took it well.
Starlight, I know why you wanted to see me, and you don't have to worry.
Oh, good.
Oh boy.
It's thoughtful that you'd want to check in on me after my shocking confrontation with Grandpa Gruff, but never fear, I shall recover.
Trixie, that's not exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. You can't get into a shouting match with parents or guardians. For the final stage of the interview process, you'll each have to put together a field trip. And if you really do want the job, I need yours to be exceptional. Because if I had to pick a vice head mayor right now, it wouldn't be you.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Oh my
Obviously, you're not gonna give the job to some pony else, but you wanna see my best. Well, message received. Wink.
Trixie,
The great and powerful Trixie is about to pull out all the stops. I hope you're ready for the most exceptional field trip to ever grace this school!
Is it wrong for me to think she might actually pull it off? Oh, don't answer that.
Oh boy.
Not looking forward to the performance?
I know Octavia loves music, but a field trip to a classical music performance isn't my idea of an exciting time.
Vinyl! Oh heck yeah! Sabroni Con all over again!
Okay, I take it back.
Yeah!
Field trips, I knew right away I wanted to take you all to my lab. I can think of no better trip than one through the quantum field. I am referring to time travel.
Please tell
I've
me
been
Durfee's
working
here.
on a temporal transportation device.
A chair.
Okay.
And 3, 4, 5, Congratulations! You are now 5 seconds into the future. You see, we are all already time travelers. Who's next?
Now what?
Oh, I hadn't actually thought that much beyond this.
Oh, I thought Derpy was going to make an appearance.
Ponies and other students,
Oh, boy.
welcome to the greatest and most powerful field trip of your lives!
Where you and friends going?
I am thrilled you asked, because today we're not doing a normal, old, boring field trip where you go somewhere.
So, not field trip.
Au contraire, I could have easily taken you to Froggy Bottom Bog, but we don't need to leave the comfort of the classroom for our field trip. I can bring the field trip to us!
Oh! Bad idea! Flash bees.
Trixie, what did you do? Well, I found the perfect little patch of bog to teleport into the school. I guess I just didn't consider the possibility that a hive of flash bees might have nested there.
Ouch. That could... Ow. Yeah. Not only is that a danger to the students...
Bees to nest in my patch of field trip bog.
You're just agitating them.
Trixie, go with the students. I'll handle this. I was only trying to give them an exceptional field trip experience, which you have to admit I did. We'll talk about it later.
Not really.
Starlight? Hey there. So, they're gone?
Yes.
Nice teamwork, am I
Well,
right?
she's mad.
Are you kidding? I don't know what team you're on, but it isn't mine. This was a disaster. It was dangerous.
I think the words you're looking for are great and powerful.
Nope.
It wasn't even acceptable! You went from not taking it seriously to blowing things so out of proportion you put every creature in danger. And I wanted to work with a friend so much, I ignored the fact that you would never be right for the job.
I'm confused. What are you saying?
I'm saying you'll never be vice head mayor.
But I thought you created the position for me.
Why would you think that? I created the position because I need help. But I can't think of any way that you would ever help me.
Twilight's friends always helped her.
Oh, that's because Twilight's friends are competent. They care about what they're doing, and they know how to do it.
Well, I guess I won't take up any more of your time, Headmare Starlight.
Starlight? I just thought I'd check in to see how the search for a vice headmare was going.
A lot better now.
Okay.
I really wanted it to be a friend, so I ended up pushing aside some pretty big signs that it wasn't gonna work out.
Not every pony is right for every job, but every pony has something to contribute. The trick is figuring out what.
What if you and your friend can't figure it out?
If you have a job to do, you have to decide what's best and be upfront and honest, even if that means you can't work with a friend on it.
So, I guess that means talking to them at the beginning, instead of stringing them along until you get so frustrated you totally lose it and say a bunch of really awful things?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Oh. Trixie? I know you're in there.
Well, you're wrong.
I'm sorry for all those things I said. I just really wanted it to work out, even though I knew it probably wouldn't. I should have said something sooner.
Obviously, we can't have what we want, because I'm terrible at everything and could never help you with anything.
You aren't terrible, and you have a lot of great qualities. Maybe not vice head mayor qualities, but great and powerful friend qualities. Well, you really stand by the ponies you care about. Gallus even said no creatures ever stuck up for him the way you did with Grandpa Gruff. It would have been nice to run the school together, but not every pony is right for every job.
I know how you take your responsibilities seriously, and maybe I should have known I wasn't exactly a perfect fit.
If it makes you feel any better, no pony was.
What do you mean?
Well, Dr. Hooves has decided to go back to his experiments.
Dr. Hooves.
And Octavia is worried the responsibilities of vice head mare will take too much time away from her music. Maybe getting a vice head mare was a bad idea.
Starlight, obviously you'd like some help, and hiring a vice head mare is a great idea.
But who could it be?
Well, you need some pony who's responsible like you, and detail-oriented like Twilight, and smart, obviously. It is a school, after all.
It would be nice if I got along with them, since having it be a friend can't work out.
Maybe it can.
And I knew as soon as I
Sunburst!
read the scroll that it was the exact right thing for me to do.
But what about being Flurry Heart's Crystaller?
Well, honestly, now that Flurry Heart's a little older, there really isn't much for me to do outside of the occasional tradition or festival. And working at a school is what I always thought I'd do. I mean, if you'll have me.
Are you kidding? You're hired!
Feeling this would work out.
Oh, Trixie, thank you so much.
Between being insightful when I want to be, and giving good advice when I don't mean to, I suppose I can be a pretty good friend.
More than that, actually. You really did give good advice. And you helped me talk through the problem of finding the right pony for the job. And we know you care about the students.
Trixie, the great and powerful advice giver, problem talk througher, and student care about her. I think I'll go with friend.
Friend is perfect. But there's a position here at the school you might be right for, too. What would you say to being the School of Friendship's new student counselor?
Ha! Yes!
I'd say this office needs a bit of redecorating. Potted plants scream desperation. Phyllis, no!
Oh, gosh! Oh, man. Okay. Alright. I really love this episode. I do. I really love this episode. And this is probably one of my favorite episodes, honestly, of this season. Honestly, it is really one of my favorite episodes of the season. And I will explain why this is a favorite episode of mine. First off, there was some interesting setups here to go over with the different things that was going on in this episode. First off, the concept that Twilight actually decided that since she was going to be inevitably ruling over Equestria, she needed someone to take her place as head mayor at the school. And so she decided to give that position to Starlight. And honestly, out of every one of the people at the school, that personally to me, I think that out of every one of the characters, out of every one of I can understand Twilight giving the position to Starlight. Starlight is Twilight's friend, of course. She is her best friend, but the thing is, whomever takes over the position of head mayor would end up mostly having to stay at the school. To be honest, I don't really think that the task would be right to fall on any other characters, any one of the main six, especially Applejack, because she's also got the family farm to run, and then Rarity also has the position. She also has her boutique, not just in Ponyville, but in Canterlot as well. And so, she's still expanding her brand. Rainbow Dash is also a Wonderbolt, so, that would also kind of interfere with that as well. Fluttershy has her Animal Sanctuary to run. Pinky also, she's a party planning pony of Ponyville, and so she's also got, that is her thing, and she also helps run Sugar Cube Corner. So realistically, every one of the other characters already has another job or task that they're working on, and realistically, it would be a major strain for them to try doing that. Apart from being a counselor at the school, Starlight doesn't have any other position or career option that she's going for. She was content with being the student counselor. So realistically, I can see why none of the other main 6 was chosen, because every one of them already has a goal or ambition that they're striving for, or that they have achieved, that they're working for. And we have already seen with Fluttershy just being, just being a teacher at the school and running the animal sanctuary. It's already enough of a difficult balance for her. I can't even imagine how much stress it would be for her to take on the role of being head mayor over the entire school. And so I can see why that none of the other main 6 were chosen. But like I said, out of all the other characters, I can honestly understand Starlight being chosen. And I know that some people, I know that this episode probably is some people's least favorite episode of the entire series, because some people despise Starlight with a fiery, burning passion. And I'm not trying to be biased whatsoever. I know that mentally, and honestly, Starlight is a character that I really honestly relate to. Mentally and emotionally, Starlight may not seem like the most stable individual. I can relate to that. I honestly can relate to that. But it's kind of one of those, for Starlight, she didn't ask about this position. But, like, this wasn't something that she decided to take on. It wasn't a role that she decided that she was ready for. Instead, she was tasked with that. And it's kind of one of those scenarios where you might not see much in yourself, but maybe a friend sees more potential in you than you do. And so they think that you're ready for that task, even if you think that you're not. So I kind of relate to Starlight. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but like I said, I was asked about running Media Shout at church. I would never have approached them and asked for that, because that wouldn't have been something that I would have thought that I would have been ready to ever have done, yet I was asked about doing it. And so it was suddenly a responsibility that I took on upon myself to do and try to work, and get better at. Because I suddenly had that responsibility. And so I can understand. Additionally, as if anyone watched my character analysis on Starlight Glimmer, my psychological character analysis on her, I said that I felt that Starlight was a character, she was mentally and emotionally scarred. She had suffered the trauma of losing a friend, and it broke her mentally and emotionally. And yes, she made some bad choices, but I believe that her decisions and her actions haunt her. And Starlight kind of appears to me like a character that would suffer from depression from time to time because of her actions, that because of the things that she's done. And she doesn't appear to be, and I think that she has a lot of lack of confidence in herself, and she's also afraid of judgment of others, because she's made some bad choices. She lost her friend before, and so she's afraid. I think that she's afraid of losing those close to her. And so I can honestly relate to that. I really can. I think that it's a kind of a mental process, and it's an interesting psychological effect, but I know that this is a thing with some people, that you're afraid of losing people in your life, and so you're a bit more clingy. You work harder to try to make them happy, because you're afraid of losing that. It's a kind of a mental thing. You work harder whenever a task is put upon you, because you want to make the person that put that task on you happy. You want to show them that you're good, that you can do it, and you're afraid of disappointing people. And so that's kind of what I see in Starlight. And she was overjoyed that she was given the position that she had. But I know that Starlight has made some choices before, but honestly, I can see Starlight's experience, and it's kind of one of those things, Starlight's experience in her past helps her in the present. the choices that she made, it helps her to be the student counselor that she is. And I'm going to make a comparison to this. And I know that some people probably feel that Starlight should not have this position because she's not mentally or emotionally prepared for it because of what she done in her past. I understand what you're saying, but I have to correct. I have to interject. I have to add to this. I have to counter this. There are people right now in career positions that made bad choices. There are women right now that were at one point prostitutes because they chose that lifestyle. Now they are singing in the choir at church because they left that lifestyle behind. There are pastors right now that maybe did something wrong, got arrested whenever they were younger, but now they are pastors in a church, and that's something that they are following and they wholeheartedly believe in. There are people right now that have made bad choices that have turned their life around and are, they know they can't change what they did in the past, but they're looking for a better future. And I would have to say, personally, that if anyone were to say, well, Starlight doesn't deserve this position because of what she did in the past, I would have to say, anytime that you see anyone out on the street, if you knew their past, and here they are trying to make a better living for themselves, they're trying to do better, they want to do better, it's not just an act, they are legit trying because they want to do better, because they're ashamed of what they did, would you actually have the audacity to look at them and tell them they shouldn't be doing this, they should be, they should be rotting in a cell or in a cave somewhere? Honestly, if you're that kind of person, please stop following me. Please just stop following me, okay? I'm not saying that Starlight did not make some bad choices, but I can say that Starlight is one of those people that she's using her past as a learning tool to help not just her, but to help those around her. And it's realistic. The people that can help teach the best, in my personal opinion, I'm just going to speak briefly on the concept of depression here, just briefly. Would you, if you suffer from depression, would you rather hear from someone that has never suffered from it, and they talk about it, but you listen to them and you think, you don't know what I'm going through, you never suffered from it, how can you possibly know what you're talking about? Or would you rather talk to someone who has went through it before, maybe is still going through it, but they're pushing forward anyway, or someone who overcame that depression? Personally, myself, I would rather speak to someone who had knowledge of something and experience, and I'd be more trusting and I'd be more willing to converse with them if they had knowledge on something. Realistically, if I had two different people that I were going to ask to put a part on my truck, and one of them had never done it before, had no idea what they're doing, or one had experience in doing it, I would rather side with the one that had experience in doing it, because I would know they would do it right. I knew that this episode overall, I knew that it was going to create a situation between Starlight and Trixie, and I can honestly understand both perspectives here. Trixie was concerned that Starlight's new position would begin taking up more of her time, and that she would have less time for her. And I can understand that totally. Feeling left out, feeling like someone isn't, making time for you. They're busy with other things in their lives. And I have seen this scenario play out in real life, where someone becomes busy with other things. Actually, this kind of scenario has happened a lot in Hallmark Christmas movies, where you have someone who's busy with work all the time. They don't really have time for anything until suddenly, whoop, they go back to it. It's a cliche story. They go back to a small town for whatever reason during Christmas, and then they meet this young man or this young woman, and who ends up helping them to get a Christmas parade or a pageant or a play or something or a shop going, and boom, romance. That's the movie. You know, I can understand, and even though that's been done a lot in Hallmark movies, I'm not dissing Hallmark movies, okay? But even though it's been done a lot in Hallmark movies, it is also it is also very much relatable, because maybe you've been in that situation before where you've busied yourself with something and kind of you've intentionally or unintentionally put someone else on the back burner, or you've been a victim of that. I've been a victim of that myself whenever someone ended up getting busy with other things and they kind of put you on the back burner. So I can understand Trixie here, her concern. You know, her not wanting Starlight to take the position because it would interfere with their friendship. It would make them not be able to spend as much time together. I can totally understand Trixie's selfishness and her concern here. Honestly, it's justified to me. But I can also understand Starlight's perspective here, in that she wants to get as much information as she can from Twilight, because she knows that Twilight is going to be leaving, and she wants to be able to do a good job with her new position. I can totally understand that. Who better to help Starlight with the position of head mayor than to talk to the head mayor herself? Go directly to the source. And so I can completely understand that. And so there's two different dynamics here. Trixie is afraid of that this Starlight's position will drive them apart. I can understand that fear, but I can also understand Starlight wanting to do a good job with it. She doesn't just want to half-a everything. She wants to do a good job with it, with the tasks that she was given. And so I can understand totally both perspectives here. And so realistically, maturely, the best thing to do for this situation will be to just try to find a mutual balance. And that can sometimes be difficult, but I can understand it. Starlight wants to find a vice mayor, someone to help out, around the school, and Trixie thinks that it's going to be her. Maturely, Starlight wanted to do it the proper way. She didn't just want to give it to someone. And honestly, I have to say, Starlight was in the right in this. Starlight was in the right in this because she was handling this in a professional way, because she wasn't, and this was a complicated situation. And I think I've seen kind of a similar setup before, where two people wanted to be able to work together with something, but they didn't get to. But realistically, Starlight, I think, handled this in the mature, professional way. She wanted to have someone come forward. She wanted to have someone that would be good with the students, that would be able to handle each one of the tasks that she knew that the students would she wanted whomever she chose to be able to handle every single one of the situations. And so Starlight was handling it professionally. She wanted to pick the right person. She didn't just want to give it to someone just like that who had no experience. She wanted someone to be experienced in it. Trixie, honestly, she wanted the position. Pardon me. She wanted the position, but she honestly thought that Starlight was just going to give it to her. And honestly, Trixie was in the wrong here. She was in the wrong because she wasn't looking at it professionally. She thought that Starlight was going to basically waste her time and go through this interview process and this training process, or trial period process rather, just to give it to Trixie. But Starlight, she hoped that Trixie would be able to succeed with this and accomplish these tasks that she set for her. And she tried giving her many chances, but she wasn't able to succeed with it. She failed at every single one of them. The only thing that Trixie actually did that was good was she actually stood up for Gallus. And it was really cool that she did stand up for him like that. because he apparently, according to Starlight, no one had ever stood up for him like that before. So I do have to say Starlight did care. Sorry, Trixie, I do have to commend her for standing up, but at the same time, acting in a hostile way is not really a good thing to do. And this is kind of coming from me. I mean, I know I'm probably not the ideal person to be saying that, but, you know, I can understand. I can understand Starlight's concern with the situation. I can understand Starlight's concern that, you know, every single one of the other ponies that she tried were handling it in a civilized and calm manner. Trixie at first attempted to, but then she ended up resorting to hostility, kind of aggression, and it kind of did work out for Gallus, but that would not have applied to anyone else. And that's kind of the difficult situation, and it's not just about being a teacher or, you know, a counselor or something like that. It's really it kind of goes with people in general. You know, you can't apply, some people think you can, but you can't. Realistically, it's not a good idea to apply the exact same mentality and attitude and, you know, attitude towards every single person. You can't do that, because it's not going to work out if you do. The best thing is you have to try to find a balance with the different people that you're conversing with, to try to figure out the best way to approach a situation. Some people can handle a calm situation, other people more, I guess, react, you know, better with hostility. But you have to try to find a balance and try to handle things in a calm level if possible. And Trixie did end up getting angry, and I'm not saying that Grandpa Gruff, you know, he was one of those angry, bitter parents. And realistically, I do think that what Trixie did was just here, because he was like one of those bitter guardians or parents that kind of thinks that their child isn't really amounting to anything, but Trixie was able to stand up for him. So in this part, Trixie was able to stand up for him, and I do think that was cool. I do think that was good. And like I said, sometimes I guess sometimes you have to do that, yes, but you kind of have to analyze the situation and try to figure out the person, you know, see how the person that you're conversing with is handling the situation. If they're calm, if they're still remaining calm and you're able to remain calm as well, if they're getting aggressive, or they end up, you know, saying something negative about their child that you can tell that it's hurting the child. You know, like the parent is dissing them completely, saying that they're not amounting up to anything, then that's whenever I can totally see Trixie getting upset. I would say that's justified, and, you know, getting upset, standing up for that child. But Starlight, honestly, I don't blame her for getting upset at Trixie here. I don't blame her for getting upset at Trixie, because Trixie was ignorant to the clear signs that Starlight did not want her to have the position. And so I don't blame Starlight whatsoever for getting upset. Trixie was completely oblivious to it and thought that Starlight apparently was still going to give it to her, and that she was trying to brush everything off as just completely calm. This honestly goes back to All Bottled Up whenever Trixie did not take the situation seriously and take into consideration Starlight's concerns of not being a good, you know, like not handling the situation well. And this kind of goes back to that. Trixie did not, she was very laid back and wasn't, Trixie kind of was acting aloof about the situation and wasn't taking the seriousness into it. She was just kind of just breezing through it, and she wasn't actually taking the situation into account, how serious that the situation was, nor was she actually aware of how Starlight was feeling and how it was affecting Starlight. Although Starlight wasn't really, she was trying to hide it, wasn't really making her point clear, so there was a lack of communication with that. But here, again, Starlight didn't really completely voice her concerns, but she did try to be a bit open with Trixie. But again, she wasn't as open as she should have been. So it was kind of Starlight's fault on that, because she did not communicate well, that she did not think that Trixie would be capable of handling that kind of situation, and that she has to take the students' well-being and her position into account. It doesn't mean that, that they're not friends. It's just she doesn't think that Trixie would be able to handle that particular position. And so Starlight did not communicate that, but Trixie was also very ignorant to and oblivious to. She honestly thought that Starlight was going to give it to her, and she wasn't really taking into account that Starlight was really trying to judge everybody fairly and give everyone a chance, and was trying to take into consideration the best person for the choice. And Starlight really wanted to be able to work with Trixie. She really wanted to be able to work with Trixie, and she tried to make it work. But in doing so, Starlight even admitted that she grazed over Trixie's faults, hoping that maybe things would work out. And honestly, I can see this situation happening in real life. And honestly, I can apply this honestly to real life scenarios where maybe someone is in a bad relationship or a bad friendship or maybe even a job, and they keep trying to ignore they keep trying to ignore the red flags, that things aren't going to work out, but they keep pretending in their head that it will, and so they keep ignoring those flags, just kind of grazing through, purposefully being oblivious to all of the negative signs, until finally it just breaks them, and they realize, it was clear from the start they just wanted to ignore it. Here, that's what Starlight did. She wanted to try to ignore it because she hoped and wanted things to work out, but they didn't end up doing so. And she ended up calling Trixie incompetent. And she made the remark that Twilight had competent friends. I just now noticed this scene here. I didn't catch this at first. This scene whenever Trixie ran out crying. Trixie acknowledged. Okay, now, I would have to say that realistically, yes, Trixie did act incompetent in regard to this. And I understand that Starlight, she said that she probably shouldn't have, but then again, it really just depends on yourself. It really just depends on the person. There are times whenever you will end up saying something. Sometimes whenever you get mad, you say something that you shouldn't have said. And I've seen this kind of play out before. We go back to one of the earlier episodes in Season 1 or Season 2 of MLP, whenever Sweetie Belle was visiting Rarity. And Sweetie Belle's trying to help out, but Rarity didn't want her help. And Sweetie Belle told her maybe I'd be better off without a sister. And so they agreed that maybe they'd both be better off without a sister. And then it was also the Amazing World of Gumball episode where Gumball was in a bad mood and he ended up wishing everyone away. I have seen this kind of play out before. And it's normal for friends to get into an argument. It's completely normal. It's completely normal for friends to argue and bicker, and it's a common part. Like I said, I'm not completely upholding for Starlight, nor am I upholding for Trixie. Both characters had some faults, and they both made some bad choices here. Starlight should have been open with Trixie up front and explained that she didn't think that Trixie was capable of handling that position. Pardon me. Not that she didn't want her to be able to. It's just with Trixie, she didn't really think that Trixie would be best suited for it. She needed somebody else to do it because she has to take into account the students and the school itself as a whole. So, yeah, Starlight didn't voice her thoughts on that. Trixie honestly, at first she did not take into consideration the students. She kind of just grazed through it lazily and didn't really do much to help the students at first. The only one that she really helped was Gallus. And so so Trixie was ignorant about that. She wasn't taking into consideration how serious that this position choice would be, how it could affect not just Starlight, but the school as a whole, the school's image and such. So there was a big responsibility for that, and Trixie was kind of ignoring it. She wasn't taking it seriously. And so both were at fault, but and so of course it was bound that both would crash or completely clash with each other. Starlight ended up saying some hurtful things to Trixie. She did reach her breaking point with it. I'm not upholding for her on that, but I still don't consider Starlight whatsoever a villain. You know, this was just both characters. It was a lack of communication for Starlight's part on her behalf, not taking into consideration the severity of the situation on Trixie's behalf, and so both should have, you know, found a middle ground with what they were trying to accomplish and kind of made it more clear. But Trixie, you know, Starlight did learn, and she learned her lesson here, and I think it was very cool and cute how Twilight was just kind of very laid back and was like, all right, you learned your lesson, didn't you? And Starlight made that, she figured that out. Starlight did tell Trixie that she was a great and powerful friend, and that she did actually care about the students, because she did stand up for Gallus. She did care about the students in her own way, and Trixie herself even admitted. And so Trixie even admitted that she probably should have known that she wasn't perfect for that position, and that she even admitted that she didn't take it into consideration, the seriousness of the position that she was trying to get and the responsibility that it had. And so both realized, and, you know, both understood, and so both came to the realization, of course, that, you know, again, communication and understanding. And so it did work out. It did honestly. It did work out. And Trixie was okay with not having that position, and she was actually able, like Starlight said prior, she was able to figure out somebody to help Starlight. And it turns out it was none other than Starlight's best friend / boyfriend, Sunburst. And this was just awesome, because this moment here, the expression on Starlight's face is just one of absolute glee and overjoy. I mean, she's overjoyed that her best friend would be now living in Ponyville, or living there at the school, so they'd be able to they'd be together, and now they'd be able to work there at the school together. And he was good for the job, and, you know, she was just excited that he was there. Trixie was just kind of relaxed, laid back, like, yeah, they're gonna have kids soon, aren't they? You could say that she's looking at Starlight saying, all right, girl, calm down. But as it turns out, even though, you know, Starlight knew that Trixie wouldn't be the best for the vice role, and even Trixie came to understand that she wouldn't be good for that, and she was okay with that. But then she realized that she kind of had the quality. Starlight realized that she had the qualities to take on being the student counselor in her place, and so I think that's really cool. I really do think that that's cool, and so she'll still be able to work there at the school. But like I said, it seems like a bit of a contradiction to a degree that Trixie, she didn't really take into consideration what she was doing or her responsibility seriously, or the well-being of the students. But she did stand up for Gallus, and she was trying to, she was trying to help the students. So I think that, you know, Trixie does probably have a little bit more to learn, but yeah, it's still going to be a while before Trixie does take that position, so that we give her time to actually learn and adapt. But I do really think that this was a very cute, very, very sweet episode. And definitely still one of my favorites, honestly, of this season. And it was very cute. It was very sweet. And it was another great character, you know, friendship building moment for Starlight and for Trixie. Like I said, I know that realistically, Starlight may not seem like the most ideal for the role of head mirror with the past, but then again, there are plenty of people out there right now that have turned their life around, that, you know, are living a better life. They're ashamed of what they did in their past, and they're doing better. And personally, I don't think it's fair to look at those people and judge them on their past whenever they're trying to do better, and say, well, you still did this in your past. I don't believe in that personally. I don't. If someone is really truly ashamed of what they did in their past and they're trying to make a better living, they're trying to do better, they want to do better, and they're using their past as an example so that they can help them, you know, they can not just help themselves, but help others as well, which is what, to me, Starlight is doing. You know, there are plenty of people realistically in real life out there that are doing that. And I don't believe it's fair. I think it's wrong to look at these people and judge them on what they did in their past and not look at what they're doing in the present. I don't believe in that. I believe that that's just cruel and just mean if someone does that. Starlight, she did make the choice. She tried. She wanted things to work out with Trixie. She wanted to work with a friend. And because she was kind of focused on that, you know, she let Trixie kind of slide through the different trials that she went through, and it ended up backfiring. And I can totally understand Starlight getting upset, because Trixie did act incompetent and completely oblivious to the responsibility that if she got that position, what it would mean for her, and the responsibility that she would have. She did not really, she even admitted that she didn't take the responsibility seriously. And so I don't blame Starlight for getting upset. She just kind of reached the end of her rope with that, particularly whenever she ended up having to try to save all of the students there at once. That was kind of her last straw. And then Trixie was still oblivious. She was still ignorant to the fact that Starlight wasn't going to give it to her. And so it was a moment where Starlight and Trixie, it was a moment of, yeah, they clashed, but it was kind of one of those things that was building. And of course, sometimes whenever you're friends and you have two different viewpoints on something like that, or you have two different ways of doing things, yeah, at some point you may end up clashing. And so it's a moment of understanding, it's a moment of understanding, of realization, and working through that difference to push forward and, make yourself stronger. And because Trixie and Starlight overcame this hurdle, it makes them stronger. It was another moment of realization and learning for them about one another and about how they handle different scenarios. And because of that moment of learning about one another, it helps them to grow. And because they overcame that, I really do feel that they are stronger now than they were before. Especially considering that Starlight, again, it's one of the moments learning of, trying to be more open and upfront about what you're trying to say. And Trixie about learning to kind of give her unintentional helpful advice and try to follow with that and try to be helpful intentionally rather than unintentionally. But I do think that, and also about trying to focus on what, on the others, on like Starlight and her emotions, and the students as well, what they need around her instead of kind of being oblivious to it, and actually take her role responsibly and seriously. So it was a moment of learning for both. It wasn't just one of them. And I really do think that this really did make them stronger for that. And so I really did enjoy this episode for that. I'm glad that, you know, they're all still extremely close at the end of it. And I do think that it was really cute. It was honestly really cool and very, very cute. And it's great that now Starlight's going to be the head mayor of the school. Sunburst is going to be, you know, the vice in the school. And Trixie's going to be the student counselor. So I really think it's going to be great. And I'm really looking, and you know, they'll be able to hang out, and so you know, they do have more of a career that works for them, and I think that's really honestly really cool, and I'm really looking forward. It'd be cool to read fan fictions about that. But I gotta say, an extra thing was, this was such a cute Starlight episode. Like, this was just a very adorable episode for her. It was also a really adorable episode for Twilight as well, and for Trixie. But yes, this I gotta say, this scene with Starlight at the end and everything, whenever she tells him that he's got the job, I love how excited and like just excitable that she is, and it's so cute, it's so sweet. Like now she's got her best friend there. And she was extremely grateful to Trixie because Trixie brought Sunburst there and thought of that, which works. So again, here, Starlight. So here, Trixie did honestly think about someone, and this was a good building moment for Trixie because this also showed that she was capable. Whenever she really tried, that she was capable of actually having some good advice and giving good advice, and she was able to actually think of someone that would be great in the position that Starlight was looking for. And not only was it a great position, not only did Sunburst actually fill that position, or will he be able to fill it and it work for him perfectly, but Trixie also knew how much that Starlight cares about Sunburst, and now she saw how excited, how gleeful that Starlight was because of that, and so she was able to give that advice and suggest him, and it works. And so yeah, this was really great. And this was the moment whenever Starlight realized, you know what, you would make a good student counselor because you can give good advice whenever you really try. And so I think this is definitely a good thing, a really good moment, because this, like I said, this is a growing moment. I'm not going to say whatsoever that all three characters here are just like that, perfect for their job. They're not. And I can honestly relate to all three here. Sunburst, he's never had a situation where he's been the vice, where he's been like the vice principal or vice head stallion or whatever of the school. Starlight's never been head mayor of a school, and Trixie's never been student counselor before. And so, while someone could say that Starlight, Trixie, that none of them are perfect for their roles right off the bat, I can honestly say that it's understandable. It's something that you have to grow into and adapt and learn as you do it. That's just like, honestly, whenever I started running Media Shout at church, I had no idea what I was doing whenever I first started, but it was a moment of learning. I had to learn as I progressed. I had to learn as I went. Same thing with YouTube. I had no idea what I was doing whenever I started, and I still don't know what I'm doing. But it's a moment of learning. You learn as you go. Nobody's ever... If anyone can say, I knew what I was doing whenever I went into it, so I could handle it just like that, okay, good for you, but not everybody is capable of doing that. Some of us, we just kind of were either thrust into that situation by somebody else, or we take it on, and we don't really have any idea of what we're doing, but we want to grow and learn as we advance. and that's exactly what's going to happen with Starlight, Trixie, and Sunburst. They may not seem idealistic, they may not seem ideal for their roles that they're given here, but they'll learn as they go. And honestly, I think that's just pretty much like with the other characters as well. You know, like all the other main six and different things that they learned as they went. But I really love this episode. It was a cute episode. It was a fun episode. It was a sweet episode. And like I said, one final thing that I have to say is the ending part with Starlight and the fern, or the plant, and Trixie saying this kind of screams desperation. Yeah. And poor Starlight, I kind of felt, I felt bad for her growing to an attachment to the plant. I did. Because I can kind of relate to Starlight, and honestly, if that makes her desperate, I can relate because I named my trucks, okay? I named my trucks. So, yeah, I can relate to Starlight, honestly. But realistically, Starlight just needed someone to talk to. You know, I think she didn't really know who to talk to at first, and she couldn't really talk to Twilight because Twilight was kind of busy. Starlight is the only other pony out of the main six that Starlight actually feels that she can confide in, and so I can understand. You know, Twilight wasn't really around a lot for Starlight to be able to converse with about how she felt regarding this whole thing, and she probably didn't feel that she can converse with Trixie. Sunburst was all the way in the Crystal Empire. And so, yeah, who else did she have to talk to? And honestly, I can relate to Starlight because I talk to myself. I don't talk to plants, but I talk to myself. So, you know, I try to work things out in my head. So I can relate to that. So, yeah, Starlight is very much a relatable character, and I can honestly relate to her. But, yeah, I really did enjoy this episode. It was a cute episode. It was a sweet episode, and it was a great character-building episode for Starlight and for Trixie. It really was. And it really did help improve their friendship, overcoming that hurdle. Realistically, I would say if you let something like that drive a wedge between you, and you're not dedicated to that friendship, to work through it, you know, to work over a hurdle, to get over a hurdle together, and stick through, you know, stick it out, and, you know, make it over that hurdle together, and you know, move forward, then there's not much going on there. I believe true friendship, you know, even the best of friends, you're going to have arguments. There's going to be things you're not going to, there's going to be things you're going to clash on from time to time. But real friends are going to push through that because they're dedicated to each other. They want each other. They want to keep each other, and they're going to work through it. And that's what Starlight and Trixie did. And it was very, very, very cool to see that. But that's my personal thoughts regarding this episode. So, again, I really enjoyed this episode. This is definitely one of my favorite episodes of this season. So, again, that's my personal thoughts. So, again, everybody, thank you so much, DHX, Hasbro, everybody that did this episode. Thank you all so much. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts as well in the comments. So, thanks again for joining me. Hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.